ladies and gentlemen, let's do our homework. This is section 9.2. We're finding the value of x. Here we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. The leg is 7. So to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, we multiply by radical 2. So we get that x equals 7 rad 2. Number 4. Again, we've got a leg, 5 rad 2. So to go to the hypotenuse, we multiply by radical 2. So I must take 5 radical 2 and multiply it by radical 2. 5 rad 2 times rad 2. Rad 2 times rad 2 is 2. Times 5 is 10. X is 10. Here, we've got the hypotenuse. And we want to go backwards to a leg. Well, when we go backwards, we divide by radical 2. So 3 rad 2 divided by rad 2 is just 3. Over here, we've got the hypotenuse again. And we want to go backwards to a leg. So we must divide by radical 2. This means that we need to take 9 and divide it by radical 2. And then we know that we have to rationalize, which means that this becomes 9 rad 2 over 2. And that is what x equals. Okay, now our 45, 45, 90s are 30, 60, 90s. Okay, we must always start with the short leg, or try to get to the short leg. So here's the short leg, 9. From 9, I can go to the hypotenuse by multiplying by 2. So 9 times 2 is 18. I can go from the short leg to the long leg by multiplying rad 3. So x is 9 rad 3. Number 8. I always want the short leg, which is right here. Except that I don't have it, which means I've got to go backwards, which means I've got to divide. So from the long leg, this is across the 60 and it's the long leg, back to the short leg is dividing by radical 3. So 3 rad 3, divide the rad 3, and x is 3. Now that I know x is 3, I can go the normal way to the hypotenuse, which is multiplying by 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Here we are. Here's 30-degree angle, which means this is the short leg. I always want to start with the short leg, but I don't have the short leg, so I have to start at the hypotenuse and go backwards to the short leg first. When I go backwards, I divide. Hypotenuse to short leg is 2. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. Then, now I know the short leg is 12, I can go the normal way to the long leg, and that means that I multiply by radical 3. 12 radical 3. Number 10. Okay, short leg is right here. I don't have it, which means that I am going backwards from the hypotenuse to the short leg, which means that I am dividing by 2. Don't get influenced by the number you see and think that just because you see a radical, that means you're dividing the radical. No, from hypotenuse to short leg, we divide by 2. 12 rad 3 divided by 2 is 6 rad 3. Okay, now I've got the short leg. I go to the long leg by multiplying by rad 3. So 6 rad 3 times rad 3. Rad 3 times rad 3 is 3 times 6 makes x equal to 18. Let's analyze the error here. Okay, here we have a 30, 60, 90. They're saying that by the triangle sum theorem, this is 30, 60, 90. Yes, we figured that out. They're saying that the hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times rad 3. Oh, no, it is not. The hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times 2, which means that this should have been 7 times 2, 14 units. Mistake. Let's find more errors. So this guy has to be the 45, 45, 90, which they figured out. And now they're saying that the hypotenuse is equal to the leg times a rad 2. But the hypotenuse is equal to just one leg times a rad 2. So in this case, it should have been just radical 5 times radical 2, which is radical 10 units. And that's their mistake. Okay, sketch the figure that is described and find the length. Okay, so they're giving us an equilateral triangle. I will draw one right there. The side length of it is 5 centimeters. And they want to find the length of an altitude. So I'll draw an altitude. There it is. My equilateral triangle is a little lopsided, you guys. I apologize. But we do know that in an equilateral triangle, the altitude is a perpendicular bisector. So this side is equal to this side. And if the whole thing was 5, this part is now 5 over 2 centimeters. Actually, they said to round to the 10th. So then we could also call this 2.5 centimeters. We don't really like decimals, so we're going to stick with exact answers. Okay, now this was a 60-degree angle because this was an equilateral triangle. This angle I cut in half. It was 60, now it's 30. So here I am with a 5 over 2 short leg, and I want the altitude. Well, that's just going to be 5 over 2 rad 3 centimeters. Since they said to round to the 10th, I will do it reluctantly. 4.3. Okay. The perimeter of a square is 36. That means all 4 sides added together equals 36. I must divide that by 4 to get each side is equal to 9. Find the length of a diagonal. Well, when I draw a diagonal, my square becomes a 45, 45, 90 triangle with a leg of 9, making the diagonal 9 rad 2. Okay. Find the area of these figures. Okay, so here we have a square because they've given me a 90-degree angle and congruent sides right there. That makes these angles equal to 45s. And now, if the hypotenuse is 8, that means I'm going backwards to get my leg, which means I am dividing by radical 2. So 8 over rad 2 must be rationalized to become 8 rad 2 over 2. And now area is base times height. So the area is equal to 8 radical 2 over 2 times 8 radical 2 over 2. 8 times 8 is, oh my gosh. Rewind, you guys. I got so excited. 8 over 2 actually does reduce. Why did that make it an eraser for me? 8 over 2 does reduce to 4 rad 2. So this is 4 rad 2. We all make mistakes, you guys. Now let's go back. That makes our area equal to 4 rad 2 times 4 rad 2. 4 times 4 is 16. Rad 2 times rad 2 is 2, which makes this area 32 units are feet squared. Okay, and here we've got a parallelogram. Again, area is base times height for both of these. The base of my parallelogram is 5, so area equals 5 times whatever this height is, and that's what we don't know, is this height right here. So let's figure it out. This is a 30, 60, 90 triangle whose hypotenuse is 4, which means I've got to go backwards to figure out the short leg. From hypotenuse to short leg, I just divide by 2. So I get that the short leg is 2. And now that I know the short leg, I can go from the short leg to the long leg by multiplying by rad 3. So 2 times rad 3 is 2 rad 3, which makes this area equal to 10 rad 3 meters squared. And since they said round to the 10th, even though we don't like to round, I'll do both to be safe. 17.3. Okay, let's take a look at number 17. I really like this problem. We've got a drawbridge. It is 284 feet long. And how high does it rise when x is 30 degrees? How high does it rise when it's 45? And how high does it rise when it's 60? So this height is what we are searching for. So we've got 3 scenarios, all right? We've got a scenario where x is 30, and we want to know what h is. We have a scenario where x is 45, and we want to know what h is. And finally, and this is feet, and this is feet. We've got a scenario where x is 60, and we want to know what h is. So let's take a look. In all of these, we've got the hypotenuse, which means we've got to go backwards to get the short leg, which is right here. From hypotenuse to short leg, we divide by 2. So in this case, h equals 284 divided by 2, which is 142 feet. In this one, I gotta go backwards from the hypotenuse to the leg on a 45-45, which means that I must divide radical 2. So here, h is equal to 284 divided by rad 2, which must be rationalized. And in this one, I actually do see why we would round, because it's such a real life situation. We get 284 rad 2 over 2. So 284 over 2 becomes 142 rad 2 feet, which is approximately equal to 200.8. So when the angle went up from 30 to 45, we gained about 58 more feet. Very interesting. Okay, and now the drawbridge is going up even further, 60 degrees. Let's see how high it goes. Wow, this really puts these angles into perspective, huh? Let's see. So here, 284 is the hypotenuse. I must go backwards to get the short leg first, dividing by 2 to... No, you guys, I am so sorry. I wasn't careful enough. This is a 30-degree angle, which makes this the short leg. To go backwards to this, I must divide by 2 to get 142 right here. And now, to get the long leg, from here, from the short leg, I go to the long leg and I multiply by rad 3. So I get that h equals 142 rad 3 feet. But to get a sense of what it means, $245.95. This is about 255 feet, 256 feet. Very, very interesting. Okay, and that was that.